Alright, on the lift we have a red SI coupe, and for brakes it's all customer supplied right here. Customer supplied rotors, pads, rear struts, brake flush, and we're going to check the injectors. His e-tuner tells him that one injector is bad based on his data log, so we're going to put them in our machine and check and find out which one is bad. We're replacing the rear shocks for the customer. I undid the tops while the car was on the ground, so that when I went up, all I had to do was take out the one bolt, which is that bolt. I'll put it over there, and then the shock will come out fairly easy. I'm going to put down the camera so I don't drop the camera while doing it. So there's the shock out of the car. It'd come with a couple pieces of the hardware, so I'll have to reuse all the rest of them. So I'll reuse one of these, of course the rubber bushing, but it come with a new sleeve there, so I'll put the new sleeve in it. I'll put the new washer on top just so that's what you see, it'll look nice, and the new nut. There it is. Usually you'd have to swap all this stuff over, but looks like Coney includes it all. Make sure that that cross lines up, and if it's crooked like that, that little rusty spot where the pin on the brake pad is going to cause your pads to wear at an angle like these are. So it looks like they've got plenty on the bottom, not a lot on the top. So you can see where it hasn't even touched that bit of the brake pad its entire service life. So always make sure it's lined up, because there's a pad there that indicates where it goes. So make sure that is in the cross on the rotor, or the caliper, sorry. Alright, I've got the rotors and pads are all on. The rear struts are in. As soon as John's finished welding his bit of aluminum, I'll have him help me with the brake flush, and I'll start pulling the covers off for the injectors while I'm waiting for that. Alright, I've been running these injectors. I even took the two new ones that he bought and tried those out. And no matter what I do, they're incredibly consistent every single time. And that's with different tests, idling tests, middle speed, high speed, reverse flushing, everything I can think of. They come out the same every time.
Good morning, guys. So today is a crazy day. Very S2000 based. If you're not into S2000s, now is a good time to tune out and wait for the next video, because it'll probably be another S2000.
Maybe skip to the end so you can watch the outro.
Skip to the end. We're going to put a really cool outro. George is going to do something really cool. We don't know what yet, because we just made this up on the fly. This car came from North Florida for a whole bunch of things. We'll talk about that in a minute. Let me just kind of show you around and let you know what's going on over here. This car is here for some mechanical work. This car over here is here for fluids and the Flash Pro tune and an airbox mod. This is one of our local customers. We're doing an oil change on this, as simple as an oil change is. They don't want to take it to the dealer. They don't want the dealer to yikes, that scares me. Look at that. Wow. You know what? As much as that makes me just cringe, the beauty of this is a real car. They drive it every day. They enjoy it. I envy these people for so many reasons, because I tend to keep my car all pretty and shiny and never drive it and just get paranoid that anything happens to it. I gotta give this person props for driving it. But look at this, car show. We need some judges out here, George. Yeah. Car show. So, what a great day, and what a great bunch of cars. Look at this. First off, this color. You've heard me say this before. I had this color, Rio Yellow Pearl. It is absolutely beautiful. Yes, I'm going to take that off in a few minutes. Even though he didn't mention it, he probably didn't see it. I'm going to take that off. I don't want it to sit on the paint and melt the paint. So let's go through these, get them knocked out. Let's catch up with what we've got going on. This is just a basic oil change. We're going to get this one done first, and then we'll show you what else is going on. All right, this is where it sprays all over your hand. Did he get you?
No, I did this.
Look at that.
Unscrew it with a magnet.
It's like we've done this before. When we go back up, let's check it. We've got a little bit of oil residue around here. I think we fixed a couple of things the last time. Yeah, we did a mount. I think we did. some
Yeah.
seals. It looks like it's dry up there. We'll take a look. We might have to wipe that off. Might just be residual, but first one. All right, so of course, like we say on every video, when you're doing your oil change, make sure you insist on using the S2000 filter, the PCX filter. Now, the biggest debate in the automotive world is oil. What is the best oil? What is your favorite oil? Now, this is something that the industry doesn't want you to know. What you want to do for the best oil is you're going to mix the Nissan CVT oil and the Honda CVT oil. You're going to mix them 50-50 and then shake them up, let them sit overnight, put 2 drops of this in there, and then whatever you've got left over, throw it in the garbage because you've completely ruined your oil. Run whatever oil you want, run your favorite oil. Don't take my word for it. Don't take some guy on the internet, because he will argue with you until you are blue in the face, and he likes to argue about it. It's one of those things. Don't argue religion, politics, or oil. That's my free advice right there. So always replace your drain washer too. This is typically what happens to it, and it will cause a leak. That's what it looks like when it's not trashed. All right, verified there is no oil leaks. This did get a new VTEC solenoid not too long ago, so it's just a little bit of residual down there. So we are good to go. George is airing up the tires and double checking everything. This one's done. Let's get this one out. All right, so it's a little loud out here. I just wanted to show you over this car real quick. First off, I just cleaned the bumper and got that bird poop off there. Look how clean this is. It is absolutely like brand new. So I'll give you an idea of the airbox mod. And it's funny, I've actually talked to so many people over this. A lot of people want to argue with it and say it's not good. I don't really care. So this is basically the idea of the airbox mod. The airbox works very well. It draws its air from this supply here. The box obviously shields the intake air from the surrounding heat, which is air, you know, cooler air makes power. The cooler you can keep the air longer, the more power it makes. It's fact. So all we're doing is taking what Honda has done and replacing, this is the factory filter, we're replacing that with a better flowing filter. We're using the K&N because it's a direct fit in there, it fits nicely. And then we're taking this louver out here, which a lot of this is for sound, and then there is a chamber down here that fills this area. That's just a resonant box. It's just to help make the induction sound a little quieter for the average car owner. Not everybody wants to hear that roaring intake sound. There's not a ton of power in this, but the beauty of this is its power over and over. If you do put one of these cars on a road course, I'm not talking quarter mile, I'm talking a road course, 15, 20, 25 minutes, full throttle over and over again, this airbox mod is going to shine. Your intake air temps will be cooler, and of course you're getting a little bit more sound, which is what some people are looking for, more than long-term power. So that's what we're going to do. I just wanted to show you this right here, and we'll go ahead and get that done. So I did want to show you this real quick. This is a quick plug for our intake arm. This is titanium. This is what we make. It's a direct replacement for this arm right here. We're going to do an install video on one of these soon, so look out for that. But this is a very pretty arm. It just replaces the rubber piece. So it will have an air temp sensor in here for the 06 and up cars. The 2005 has an intake air temperature sensor in the manifold, and it won't have that, but this is a much cleaner alternative arm right there. Look at that. All right, so I put it back together. Again, took the webbing out here. It's got the block off here. This part, again, it's just for sound. There's no performance benefit from this. The performance that you're going to get from this is not going to be that substantial. It's not like putting on a cold air intake and putting on the dyno and going, woo, look at that, I made 8 horsepower. This is repeatable power. And again, it's track tested. We've got the actual data from a racetrack, not a dyno. A dyno is only going to show you a one pull run. Track testing is going to basically take into effect of heat, soak, run after run after run, showing you actually how much cooler the air is, and that's what we're going for here, just so we can answer some of the questions of, yo, it doesn't make as much as brand X on the dyno. So look at the mileage on this, 18,000 original miles. This is super duper clean, and like often people will say, well, that car doesn't need anything, the mileage is so low. Well, it's not just the low mileage, it's the age. And age is something that you can't escape from. It's a 2006. So fluids are going to get old. Obviously, engine oil should be done periodically anyway. But the other fluids often get overlooked on these cars. We should do like a guide of what to check on your S2000. Transmission fluid almost never gets changed. Differential, and something that we see a lot, and this will come from a certified Honda dealer, often this fluid is the original. This is your clutch fluid right here. Not only is it low, it's very grimy. So when we see it low, often means it's leaking. This stuff doesn't evaporate, but it will leak, and often leak into the cab via the pedal assembly. And brake fluid, same thing, super duper dark. This takes on moisture, it heats and cools, it condenses, it pulls in dirt, it breaks down. The seal breaks down, often contaminate this fluid. If you leave this in, it could damage the seals in the master cylinder or the calipers. This almost certainly wipes out the seal in the master cylinder, which, let's go around the other side and take a quick look at that. So you're gonna look over here, obviously look at your clutch pedal, you see the 3 pedals. You're gonna follow that clutch pedal up, and over here, right here, I'm gonna put an arrow. That is where it will often leak. Now, as you see, this one looks really good. So we're lucky we don't need to replace this master cylinder, but of course we do need to flush out the fluid, and same with the brakes. So let's go ahead and start doing our procedure. So it has this miniature battery in here it told us about. What George is doing right now is measuring how small that battery is compared to a regular one. I'm gonna say, what, about 67% smaller? So he says, you know what, I haven't held on with a tie wrap just for right now. I haven't built anything for it. It didn't say, hey, will you build something for me? But just because of the fact that he traveled to us, he chose us, and one of the reasons we try and share, where am I going with this? He took the trouble to come and see us. We got to take the trouble to give him something a little bit more than what it paid for. So this is our little checklist right here. We put it on the paperwork anyway, but by putting it on our board, we have a visual, we can go through and check it. Now, just to let you know, what we're gonna do is use your engine oil of choice. Always use an OEM filter. I'm not gonna tell you what oil to use because it is the big debate. Trans fluid, factory Honda trans fluid. If it's an older transmission and it tends to feel a little bit notchy, we have had a really good success with the Royal Purple. Brake fluid and clutch fluid, I do recommend DOT3, DOT4, something synthetic. I wouldn't go with full race fluid because it doesn't have the resilience against corrosion and moisture and that kind of thing. It's just for racing only, street use. You're really not going to get longevity out of it. Diff fluid, Mobil 1, 75, 140. I'll show you these as we put them in. Alright, second oil change of the day. This one looks pretty good. Again, drain it, fill it, OEM filter only. You gotta use an OEM filter. Alright, transmission drain. I've said this before, but one of the reasons we do this is just because the customers like to see the video of their own car, and it kind of gives them an idea of what's going on. It's always nice to see what your car looks like underneath. And of course, to see the fluid coming out, it kind of gives you that and more of a feeling of relief that there's no chunks coming out and it's not black and drippy and anyway, you know what I'm saying. Look how lovely it looks in there. And the dirtiest, smelliest one is the diff. Again, this is always dark. And one thing to note, and we see this based on the S2000s we see, this never ever gets changed, and it blows my mind that you could take your car to the dealer and say, do everything, and the dealer won't do this. I don't quite understand it. I know Honda says in their manual certain intervals, but there's certain things you should just do it because it is gonna get dirty. It's not going to protect as well. Obviously, when the darker the fluid is the more metal particles and sludge that's in there and who knows what. Definitely a good idea to replace this, flush it. I'm not going to give you a mileage interval because I don't want to go on record and tell you what we say, but I would replace this a lot more frequent than what Honda is telling you. Yeah, it's not bad, but it looks original to me. Look at that.
Yeah, there's little pieces, but those are from manufacturing, really.
Yeah.
It's mostly just the sludge.
Yeah, that's completely normal, but again, if you own one of these new, I would drive it probably 500 miles, change all the fluid, get any kind of braking lube out of there, and then do your regular little intervals. But we're going to let this
with these two and the transmission, You change your engine oil every 3,000, 3,500 with synthetic. These don't have a pump, they don't have a filter, they don't have a cooler. It's just throwing oil around.
It's just the same oil recirculating over and over. It's not getting cleaned. Battery retainer, of course not to scale, but it does fit. Now time to clean it up, bolt it on. And now we are doing brake and clutch fluid. Alright, so what I like to do is pump this all the way out, clean it, clean the reservoir as much as possible. There you go, you can see it. It's not too bad, but you see it's got like a reservoir, or sorry, residual in the reservoir. So we're going to go ahead and clean that out, then start flushing new fluid through and get that looking perfect and clear again. Alright, so we're nicely cleaned and flushed. Now, I described this once before as a kind of like a hydraulic brake cable. You got to think when you're pressing it, you're pushing the hydraulic fluid through this, and you'd be amazed as you flush it through and get it nice and clean. You can feel it in the pedal. The pedal actually gets smoother and the whole clutch will feel noticeably better. So just keep that in mind. When you're flushing your fluid, you will feel a difference going through the hose. Also recommend cleaning this cap just to make sure any of your contaminants on that cap don't get back in your fluid. And again, just peace of mind knowing that everything is nice and clean when you look at this. Alright, so brake and clutch is done. George is working on the battery box little bracket. Fluids obviously done, airbox mod is done. Time to dyno tune. There we are. A little bit of rubber isolator around there, get a little bit of traction, a little bit less on the vibration. So now that battery will hold down a little bit more securely. So this is the blue one I showed you earlier. It's here for a whole bunch of things. One is to take the head off, rebuild it, put new valves into the head. It has a pretty good misfire on a couple of cylinders. I'll try and show you that as we get it apart, but they're notorious for valves leaking over time on some of the higher mileage S2000s, especially seems like on the AP1s, because the valves are machined so thin. Alright, it's actually a nice day over here on the dyno. 93 degrees, which is pretty comfortable. Last week it was 97 in here. So to give you an idea how we're going to do this, we tune based on our wideband because it has a lot less hours on it than the factory one. A lot of people will tune by the factory wideband or even your e-tuner. It can only make changes based on what he sees. And if your wideband is 70,000 miles old, it's not going to be as accurate as it could be. So the one we have, we tend to change, unless something happens, we tend to change it every 6 months. And we don't do a ton of tuning over here anymore. We kind of cut out the regular tunes. We just tune what we build. And this is just kind of one of those things we're doing as part of a package, but we don't just bring in tunes anymore. So we're going to run this just as it is, get a baseline. We're not going to make a ton of horsepower from a tune, but we're going to try and make as much mid-range as we can, make the VTEC changeover as smooth as we can by still keeping a little bit of that VTEC sensation. Talk to the customer about this, and often a tuner is trying to make maximum power everywhere, and he'll make the VTEC crossover absolutely seamless, which is fine, is where you make the most power, but you lose that surge of power at VTEC, which you don't want to lose power before VTEC, but if we can create that surge and that excitement, that kind of VTEC sensation as we call it, that's what we're shooting for here. So let's get the engine up to temperature, do our baseline run, and we'll make some tune, and I'll show you what we can make on a tune. So just to answer a question that somebody asked, in our tuning videos you often see me press a button on the laptop and run away. So he goes, why do you run away when you do a tune? Well, the laptop is going to record all the data. We're close enough on a run that I don't need to sit and look at the run, look at the laptop during the run. I know we're close enough. I like to take many different audible samples. I like to listen to the engine. I also like to listen and look at the exhaust, because you can visually see a little bit of a misfire developing before it becomes a knock. If I get a car where I can show you that, or if I have a car that is a little bit less sensitive, I'll deliberately force a little bit of knock just so you can see what I'm talking about. But that's what I do. I tend to press record, step back. I either listen to the engine by, I mean, it's kind of crazy. I don't want to tell you to do this, because in fact I'm not going to tell you, because someone will take it the wrong way. But that's why I run away from the dyno when I press record. Alright, so this is just the factory Honda map. This is just basically plugged into data log this. I want to record it just to get some information, see what it's doing. but it should be pretty close. The car is stock, except a pipe that he put on and the airbox mod, which isn't going to change it that much. We'll see the trims are pretty close. They're basically adding 4%. Factory, it's usual to see anywhere from -12 to +15 I've seen, depends on the climate. Of course you want to try and get it as close to 0 as you can, but the reason for this is so it can kind of hone in on the magic number. Alright, so I'm going to leave you on this screen right here just so you can kind of watch the air fuel. Temps are still good, tack is bouncing around. I'm going to adjust the wire, just make sure it's nothing interference wise. Alright, that seems better. We're up to temperature now. Let's go ahead and do a run. All the times of TV to decide to do a reboot. That's awesome. Let's see what we have right here. Let me zoom out right here. Yeah, look at the map. This is the factory map. Look at that VTEC changeover. This is drastic. 5900 is what the factory VTEC changeover is. We're not losing power, we are a little bit, but that sudden sensation of VTEC right here makes you go, whoa. Also, we're gonna see what's going on here. Let's take a look at the air fuel ratio right here. See if we can get a we're not too bad. We're a little bit lean right here, which could contribute. That right there, we want to get this down 13 or under. A little bit richer right here. Super duper lean on the changeover, which could be part of the pipe. Airbox mod is going to change it a little bit, but not that much. Let's go ahead and start fixing this, and we'll show you what you can expect from a tune. But we got to do better than that. Look at that. All right, we've got to get our temperature close to where we started. We were starting at like 178. We're not far off, but hopefully we can make some pretty good improvements. This is a map that I've used many times in the past, and it's one that I've spent some pretty good time getting right, but we'll see. Every car is different. Every car needs to be independently tuned, so that's what we're going to do on this one as well. Let's put this noisy fan on. I've got to fix this. This thing's been getting noisy over the last couple of months. It's like rattles, but we don't want to breathe in any exhaust. Hear that? The whole page is rattling. So let's go ahead, start this run. This is the little button I'm going to press, and then you're going to watch me get out of here. Record. Wow, that's quite a big gain. Air fuel's a lot better. Still off here. A little bit too rich through here, but I want to drop that down a little bit. Lean this out some through here, but that's some fun. That's an amazing gain. Wow, props to the tuner on this one. So I gotta say, this is a real healthy one, but as you see, this over here, now we've smoothed this out, we're pretty close to our 12 to 1 line. I mean, I realistically could leave it right here. We're about 11.8 here somewhere, 11.7. This, I don't like it that lean. I'm a little bit of a baby tuner. I like it safe. So between 6 and 67, I'm gonna put a little bit of fuel in here. And then I think between 36 and maybe 55, take a little bit out, see if we can straighten that out. But that is some fantastic gains, it really is. I gotta say, I am actually quite surprised. All right, so we're tuning off our wideband like I was explaining. I use the factory wideband to basically get drivability and verify it. I will turn off the wideband, tune it in open loop, get as close as I can, then turn it back on. But just to give you an idea how far your O2s can be off, this is basically 6,400 RPMs. Our wideband is showing 13.3. Wideband in the car at 6,400 is showing 12.5. So I wouldn't go by this one. I will go by ours. I always tune on the most conservative side, which leaner If it doesn't lose any power by putting fuel in it, put fuel in it. Fuel will help you, it will cool things down. Unless you're blowing black smoke, it will save you long term. So as you see, this is the wideband on the car. This is why I would never tune by the wideband. I would never use this as an e-dyno, never. All right, now for the artistic shot, you ready? I was just kidding. All right, 94 degrees. I don't really know what difference that makes, but that's what it is. They start the run, and action. A little bit of a difference, but not enough. Put my fuel a little bit closer. Just want to fix that bit right there. Better right here. Again, it didn't change power at all. It didn't make any power to speak of. I did make a tiny change down here. It did have a really, you can see a big abrupt rich spot right here. I did take that out and it managed to pick up just a little bit, not enough to really matter, but again, a little bit of increase in power is always a good thing. But that is pretty close right there for speed density. Again, right on the 12 to 1 line, nice and safe, good graph, tons of power down low. We got rid of that hiccup. Let's do it before and after. I mean, look at that, that's massive. This is the power that we're concerned with. This is where we try and make the max. This over here is just basically getting your fuel correct and putting a little bit of timing in there, sprinkle some timing in. But didn't really change that much through there. This is where we're concentrating all of our tuning and just making this power here is what you feel more than anything. I mean, that's almost 20 foot-pounds and almost 10 horsepower. It's a little bit of notice right there. So that's it. Final numbers: 223 and 155. This is definitely a strong S2000. Really, really nice example. All right, this car is done. Go ahead and call the customer, and he can pick it up. Now it's leaving with more power, fresh fluids. Everything is happy. Now this should be a whole lot of fun to drive. Hopefully I can get some feedback. What I'm going to do is when he picks it up, just because we get asked about it a lot, let's see if I can get him to go up the road a couple of times, come back and give us his impression, and see if he'll go on film and let us know. What does that sound like, guys? All right, put his Flash Pro back in the box and call the customer. All right, so the customer's here to pick it up. I've told him go take it for a quick drive and get a feel of it and see if it's noticeably better. So I'll get him to share his experience with you. We get a lot of people asking about this, and they also ask to do a ride along with the customer. Well, I don't want to do that. I'd like him to go on his own and see if it feels any better. We didn't make a ton of power, but we made decent power. I want to see if that mid-range is better too. Alright, I didn't see any cops following you back, so that's a good sign.
No, it was a good ride.
Awesome. How is it?
Well, the car feels night and day, I guess. It's obviously not a supercharger, but it feels more peppy and, you know, stronger.
Yeah.
And the noise of the engine, there's a better growl, like a roar, because I wanted induction noise, not a muffler, you know, like an exhaust. So I wanted the engine noise when I accelerated, and that's what I got. And I got a stronger mid-range and lower end torque, I guess.
Awesome. You can definitely feel that little bit down low.
Yes, definitely.
Awesome.
Yes. Because before I used to accelerate it, let's say at around 3,000 RPM, and it felt sluggish.
Yeah.
Now it feels like, you know,
it's crisper.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Awesome. Fantastic. That's what I wanted. That's what I wanted to hear, but I wanted you to experience it.
Yes, I mean, it's definitely worth it, yeah.
Awesome, fantastic. Pop the hood real quick. Let's take a quick look at your little battery. Hold down. I know you mentioned it and it's kind of a surprise, but I wanted you to see it.
Whoa, that is nice.
It's small and subtle, and obviously it's got sponge under there too,
That's
so it
perfect.
should protect it.
Exactly what I was looking for.
Yeah, nice, clean, subtle.
I mean, the best thing is I never told you what I wanted. You just did it.
We just did it, yeah. We just kind of took it upon ourselves and said, this is probably what you need.
Yeah, it looks stock as I wanted it.
Beautiful.
Looks like Honda did it.
And it's held on with Allen bolts, so if you want to take it off, take the Allen bolts out, it'll come out just as normal. It's nothing too complicated.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Great, thank you. I appreciate you giving us a quick review, and again, thank you for the business. Thanks for making the trip.
Thank you, appreciate it. No, thank you.
Well, you always say when these cars came out, how you used to work on them because everyone buy and bring them here when they were new. Well, when these were new, I was in high school. I used to jump over them.
You think you still do it?
Probably.
I don't know. This one's pretty low, so you should be able to make it. You're gonna go front to back or back to front?
Oh yeah, front to back.
Okay.
All right. It's not really that hard.
I can't believe you made that.
It's been a while, but you can still do it.
You still got it.
Yep.